Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece episodes 1003 and 1004. And let me explain a couple things here first. First off, these pre-thoughts are being pre-recorded. I'm recording these a few days before I record the actual reaction and afterthoughts. I figured out a way to work this time-wise that's going to work out really well. So it's weird that I'm doing it this way, but I feel like this is the best way to do it. So I'll be wearing something else in the reaction and the afterthoughts, so just be prepared for that. But in terms of the pre-thoughts, the second thing I want to bring up is the issue at hand. So I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible because I've already talked about it in a few different videos. So I'm just going to try to keep this as brief as possible. So as you know, there was the entire issue between Totally Not Mark and Toei Animation. Totally Not Mark, a reviewer on YouTube, for those who somehow may not know, have not heard of it, got 150 plus of his videos, of his reviews, taken down by Toei. Mostly dealing with stuff like Dragon Ball and especially One Piece. And they were taken down manually and in very quick succession, proving that it was basically a targeted attack. And that the content of which they weren't even really watched. His videos constituted fair use in accordance with the laws of his country, which is Ireland. And even within the country that the majority of his audience happens to be from, which is the US. However, Japanese copyright law is archaic, to put it simply. It's very backwards. No one outside of Japan really agrees with it. It's bad. And unfortunately, because of YouTube's terrible system, Japanese companies are able to exploit this and do stuff like this. Now, most of the fault does go with YouTube for their system. They're basically, to put it simply, they're being lazy. They don't want to handle things themselves. So they basically just thrust everything onto the companies making the claim. But that makes it very one-sided, brings about all the issues. Yeah. And so the actual YouTuber, the creator, is basically fucked. Now, if it's one or two videos, like, yeah, it'll take a while to get things reinstated, but you can easily. The only problem is with 150 plus videos, all the videos that Mark had claimed, it would take almost 40 years to go through the system as it is and get each and every video reinstated, because you can only do one at a time. And it takes a while to get them reinstated. Based on the numbers, that's how long it would take. And so initially, Totally Not Mark and many of his supporters, there were so many people supporting him, both other YouTubers and just general people who watched his content. There was this call for a boycott to Toei. I myself joined in on it because even though I love One Piece, the anime, as I've stated, favorite piece of media of all time, I could not accept what was happening. However, after some days, Mark called off his support for the boycott and has chosen to leave this entire situation behind and move on. He's going to talk with his editors and his team about what to do, and they will continue doing content in 2022. So the question came to me as to what to do now. Mark is actively saying he doesn't want to do this boycott anymore. He doesn't support it anymore. And let's be honest, nothing's going to change. YouTube's not going to change their system, even though they've openly acknowledged to the public that most of these copyright claims are false. They're not going to change their system. These companies are still going to take advantage of it because they're big companies and they can. And that's not going to change. What will boycotting it do? But at the same time, it's still wrong. It is still actively wrong what has been done. So I was wondering, and I put it in a video, and I even asked again on the community tab of the channel, what do you think I should do? And I didn't get many responses, unfortunately. I was legitimately asking for responses there, but I didn't get many. But I was thinking about it myself. I gave it a lot of thought, a lot of processing. And I decided we're going to continue with the anime. I still stand on Mark's side. But I understand that it's mostly YouTube, and Toei is just taking advantage of YouTube's broken system. And again, boycotting's not going to really do anything here. And this was also made as well as a mental health decision. As I stated, it's my favorite series of all time. And in a lot of ways, even though I wouldn't consider it in the same kind of level as stuff like Owl House or Ghost and Molly McGee or Dragon Maid, for the obvious differences of the kind of story it's telling, it's very much come to... I very much came to the realization that, yeah, One Piece is a comfort show to me. Even though it's not like, again, in the same ballpark as those other shows due to just how the show is presented. It means that much to me, where choosing to boycott it and the aftermath of that decision really brought on a heavy bout of depression in me. It really fucked me up. I wanted to stay with it, but when Mark announced that he was no longer supporting this boycott and everything, that's why I instantly had that internal struggle about what to do, because I wanted to get back to it. My first instinct was, Mark no longer supports this boycott, I can get back to watching this show. That was my first instinct. And I struggled with that because I still wanted to boycott them, because I still didn't like what they had done. And I still don't, but for my own mental health reasons, and because Mark did say that, I think I can continue. And to be fair as well, Toei is a big company. We know that the group responsible for this entire attack and everything on Mark's channel was not the same people who work on the shows. It was their legal team who did this kind of stuff. The animators, the writers, and all, they didn't do this shit. So technically, they're not the ones who actually make the show, aren't at fault here as well. That's been brought up in a couple videos I've seen too, a couple responses to the entire situation. So there is that to take into account, but even so, I just feel like, again, for these reasons, we can continue. So yeah, we have 2 episodes to get through during this week. As you know, this is Christmas week for those who celebrate it, myself being one of them. And I have chosen to have this week be very cut down. We're only doing a few different shows, only I guess you could call them priority shows for me, but also a couple, One Piece and JoJo being quote-unquote ongoing. I say quote-unquote because JoJo technically released all 12 of its first 12 episodes at once. So it's technically not ongoing, but I'm counting it kind of as it is. But yeah, so we're taking a short week this time for the holiday, just so I can rest and relax. I'm recording pretty much everything ahead of time. And I'm recording these pre-thoughts even more ahead of time than the One Piece reaction. But again, I'll probably explain that more in the afterthoughts, or I could explain it now. Basically, I'm pre-recording this the Thursday before. It is, what is the date? The 16th. And then I'm going to be recording the reaction and outro, the afterthoughts, on Sunday. So a day before you're seeing this. It's just the best way for me to do it. So that way, starting on Monday, all I have to do that entire week is put up stuff, but I don't have to record or worry about any of that. That way I can spend the week doing a lot more rest and relaxation, which is what I want to do for the holiday week. I've even gotten everything else I need for the week already pre-recorded and everything, so this is the last thing. But last we left off on One Piece, let's actually get to that now. Again, I'm going to try to keep this brief. We've already spent quite a bit of time talking. There were some ice bullets that seem to have a really powerful after effect too. Queen is proving to be pretty strong even without the necessary use of his abilities, even though those are also strong. We have Luffy having accepted help from Diaz Drake, though the rest of the crew is not really on board with it. Though Zoro does agree to do it, does agree to work with him after he finds out that Drake hates Scratchman Apu as well. And it's like, oh, you hate him as well? Cool, we're bros now. And it's like, what? It's just so easy and such a dumb reason, but whatever. Don't listen to your captain. Don't listen to his instinct on all of that. Just okay, he hates this other guy, so he's a cool guy. Sure. But yeah. The battle is still going on. There's a few things we haven't seen for a couple episodes, but I am very excited to get to more. Because even with this entire situation that has happened with Totally Not Mark and Toei, again, like I said, this is a comfort show for me. This was very much proven during this time where I was in support of this this entire thing of Mark and the boycott, but it was made very apparent to me with the ensuing depression that I very much rely on this show for a lot of my mental health, especially since I started really heavily reacting to it. Once I really started getting really into it again, and especially once Wano came and just kept giving me amazing shit over and over, it's I became so just constantly excited for this series that you could kind of say I became reliant on it. And some people might say that's unhealthy, but I don't think it is. I think that becoming reliant on a series, a game, or whatever is fine. If it makes you genuinely happy and helps you with your mental health, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter that it's just some dumb show or some dumb game, or hell, even if it's something like sports or going on walks or bowling or whatever. Whatever makes you happy and whatever helps with your mental health, go for it. It's actually extremely healthy to explore that stuff and to take part in it if it's helping you in that way. It doesn't matter what it is. The people who are saying that it's unhealthy because, oh, you're getting too attached to a show or you're being too obsessed with a video game, it's fuck you. It's fuck those people who say that. Those are the people who are these old fogies who think that you have to like spend all your time like playing pretend outside and shit, or throwing a ball around with your friends. It's like times have changed. Some people still hang out outside, but if people want to hang out inside and do stuff like that and play games or whatever, there is nothing wrong with that. And people really need to get with the times, because that shit pisses me off. When people say shit like that, that shit pisses me off. It is not any unhealthier to do that kind of shit. And in fact, it can, in a lot of ways, it can be healthier mentally and even physically. Because I can tell you one thing, while you may not be getting as much exercise doing that kind of stuff, you're also not getting hurt as much. You're not getting as sick as often as if you were just constantly playing outside, especially in the winter, even though it's actually surprisingly nice out today. But still, there are goods and bads to everything, no matter what. So don't try to act like one type of play, one type of hanging out with friends, one type of thing to do in general is inherently better than another. It's not. And that's enough of that rant, because I could go on about that forever. But yeah, so I hope you all understand with me choosing to continue this for these reasons, and we'll just move on from there. Last thing I want to mention before we get to this, though, is that these are the last 2 episodes for this opening. Dream On is ending with 2021. Starting with the first episode of 2022, which there's actually a break after these 2 episodes for 2 weeks. The January 9th episode, I want to say, that episode starts a new opening, which, as I have stated, I've been wanting. So this is our last time getting to see Dream On as our opening for One Piece. At least for ongoing episodes. Obviously, we can rewatch anything at any time. And it is kind of sad, because again, it's a really great opening, but it's time. We needed, it's actually past time. We've needed to change this for a little bit now. I thought it should have happened with the 1000th episode, but just doing it at the start of 2022, it's like that works too, I guess. So yeah, we're definitely watching the opening as always. And in fact, because it's the last times we'll see it, we'll watch the opening for both episodes. I normally wouldn't do that, but just because it's the last times we'll see it. Plus, the opening does have the little, like, teaser in it as well, so I guess we could watch for that reason. I don't know, I assume the new one's going to have a teaser as well, but I don't know for sure. Some people like those, some people don't. I'm just kind of meh on them, because it's like, it's only showing us what's about to happen in the episode we're literally about to watch. And usually it doesn't tell you too much. But either way, so yeah. These 2 episodes are the last ones for the Dream On opening, and then we have our new one starting on the January 9th episode. During these 2 weeks, we'll just, I guess, have nothing on Mondays. During these next 2 weeks between. But yeah, that shouldn't be much of an issue, I guess. But either way, thank you so much for understanding with this situation. Let's get into it. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, with that, One Piece is done for 2021. It returns on January 9th, so we just have a couple weeks to wait. And yeah, that was let's be honest, just an absolutely wonderful set of episodes. While there's still conflict for me coming back to this after the entire situation with Totally Not Mark, I can't argue with how this series just continues to impress me. I can't argue with how good it is. And I can't argue with how much it means to me. And it's such a big, comforting part of my life that with Mark no longer supporting the boycott of Toei, it's like I said in the pre-thoughts, just kind of had to move on. For my own mental health as well. Just because, again, of how much this series means to me. These 2 episodes were great. We got to get some more stuff with Yamato still trying to convince Shinobu and Momonosuke to trust him. Momo is more on the trusting side. He can see the genuine honesty in him, even if he's being a bit of a goofus about it. But Shinobu is much less so. Even though Luffy vouched for him, Shinobu is still concerned, considering they're in the enemy fortress and everything, and this dude is claiming he is Kozuki Oden, so I get her hesitation here. But it's like, trust in Momo. Trust in him here. And trust in Luffy. Like, goddamn, has Luffy ever given you a reason to not think that he can be trusted? But we also see a bit of some other things going on, including Carrot joining the fight with the minks that are just outside of the hall, it seems. We know Carrot was with Nami and everything before, but now she's gone to join with Wanda and the others in their fight. And she ends up, during this, spotting, well, actually first hearing, and then spotting Perospero. And because Perospero, even though he didn't kill Pedro himself, he is still kind of responsible for it. She sees him as Pedro's enemy here and wishes to dispose of him because of all her anger and sorrow in regards to Pedro's death. And the last we see from her in these episodes, Wanda comes out with her. She sees Perospero and everything as Marco and Perospero begin to fight. And then she looks up at the moon, hinting that she's about to go Sulong. And speaking of Perospero and Marco fighting, so Perospero caught up with Big Mom after she had been yeeted out of the building by Jinbei and Robin. And he tries to explain his side to her, but she eventually manages to get through to him by explaining, we're still going after the One Piece and everything. We're using Kaido. This is an alliance, but it's to further our goal. And she's like, can't you trust me in that? And he relents. And so Marco is just like right away, like right as I call it, is like, oh, so that means you're not on my team anymore. You're not part of this ogre extermination plan. All right, let's fight. And so Marco begins to fight Big Mom and Perospero. So that's going to be fun. And Luffy and Sanji are continuing to run throughout the place. And we get to find out what these ice rounds do. These ice rounds are a new form of playground that, instead of infecting the person with a deadly disease, turns their body to ice and transforms them into an ice oni, making them lose all sense of self and self-control and turn on their allies. This is an incredibly dangerous round. We honestly don't know if there's a cure for this at all, or what that cure could be. And like, how do you stop this kind of thing from happening? It spreads really fucking quick, and the bullet spread from Queen's gun is really, really excessive. This is an extremely, like, well thought out type of ammunition. This was definitely a game changer during this battle. Like, and it's terrifying, honestly. And like I said, like, we don't want someone like Zoro getting infected by this, because if he ends up becoming an Ice Oni and turning on the allies, that would be very fucking bad. Because almost none of them would be able to actually stand up against him. Because if he loses all control and like lets loose on his allies, oh, they are fucked. The only one who could be able to stand up to him is Luffy. But he's managing to avoid everything, luckily. We see the Mink leaders, Dogstorm and Cat Viper, in their Sulong forms take on and defeat Jack rather easily. Like, it's really one-sided. And like I said in the reaction, it's mostly because of Jack's agility and reaction speed. As a mammoth, he has excessive strength. He has great defenses. He is strong. No one is arguing that. But Cat Viper and Dogstorm are already pretty fast. They're two of the retainers of Kozuki Oden. So they're definitely very strong, and they can handle some heavy damage. So add that with the speed that they have, the speed and agility, and then the fact that they're in Sulong form, which increases that exceptionally. Jack never stood a chance. He couldn't do shit against them. Now, Queen and King may be a different story, because it's blatantly obvious that they're stronger than Jack is. In fact, it's probably literally the hierarchy you would expect. Like, obviously, King is going to be the strongest of the three of them. Like, I feel that's pretty obvious. But the fact that, like, Jack, who is that strong, like, we know Jack is still very fucking strong. The fact that he couldn't really do anything against Sulong form, Cat Viper, and Dogstorm is really saying something. And that kind of makes you wonder, like, the Tobi Roppo are under the headliners. So it's like, I don't think any of them would even stand a chance against the Sulong, Cat Viper, and Dogstorm in that fight. Because it's like, you know that the headliners are literally the next in line after Kaido. It's basically like Zoro and Sanji with Luffy. Luffy's the strongest, but Zoro and Sanji are literally right behind him. And that's how the headliners are with Kaido. So it's like, if even just the weaker of the headliners, even if just the weakest one can still be taken out that blatantly easily, it can be pretty well assumed that they could probably take out Queen as well. King is another story, especially because we know that King is very fast. We've seen King's speed. Queen, not as much so. But King would definitely be another story, and I definitely think King is notably stronger than the other two, so it's going to be interesting to see more of him in action, though, whether in his Pterodon form or not. But then, of course, the highlight of these episodes is the Akazaya Samurai taking on Kaido. The resuming fight against Kaido himself. Because despite everything else going on, even with Yamato being one of my favorite characters, it's like that still can't really compare to the weight that this battle has. The Akazaya Samurai taking on Kaido has so much behind it. So much depth to it, so much weight to it, so much just insane buildup that it means just that much more than anything else happening here. Which is why I said in the reaction why it would be so much more satisfying if Kaido was defeated in this arc by the Akazaya Samurai rather than, like, say, Luffy or Zoro. I like seeing the Straw Hats take down the enemies, but in this situation, with all the backstory we've gotten, with all the character we've gotten, with all the just build up to this specific fight, the idea that anyone else would take down Kaido besides the Akazaya Samurai just is incomprehensible to me. It honestly makes no sense if you think about it. This is their fight. The only other character who honestly has a right to take down Kaido would be Momo himself. But yeah, that's not going to happen for obvious reasons. So it's like, what do? Do you have the Akazaya take this victory and actually have our main characters not, like, just completely save the day themselves like usual? Or do you take this away from the Akazaya Samurai who deserve this more than anyone else? Let's be honest, Luffy doesn't deserve this victory. To be fair, Luffy doesn't deserve most of the victories he gets into. Most of these fights he just kind of wanders into. Most of the other characters in those respective arcs actually technically deserve the victory. Like, you could say, like, with Alabasta, since I did mention Crocodile during the reaction, that is on my mind, you could kind of say Vivi would have been more deserving to end that fight. But they made it work because Luffy had two separate confrontations with Crocodile before the final one, both of which he lost, both of which Crocodile defeated him, and the first one of which he nearly killed him in. This gave Luffy the right to be the one to take down Crocodile, rather than someone like Vivi or Koza. That gave him the right because it built up to that. Luffy doesn't have that with Kaido here. Like, there's not really that kind of rapport. They didn't have any big fight with each other outside of the one in Act 1, but that was so one-sided. And honestly, that's nothing compared to, again, what the Akazaya 9 have in this fight. The Akazaya 9's characters, pretty much as a whole, are, like, entwined in Kaido's. So it just, I don't know, it just makes no sense to me. Like, yeah, Luffy had that one confrontation with him, but there wasn't really much to that. And yeah, you could kind of say it was the same with Crocodile, but again, it's just that Luffy's one previous confrontation with Kaido just doesn't really equate to what the Akazaya 9 have against him. Luffy has not earned the right to defeat Kaido comparatively to them. He probably still is going to. But I would think it would be better if the Akazaya 9 were the ones to take him down. But it's probably going to be Luffy, let's be honest. And Oda will make it work. I trust Oda will make it work. No matter even if it happens in this arc or not. Because that's still kind of up in the air. And so, yeah, we'll just kind of have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. But like I said, this is the last episodes for 2021. So we're going to have a couple weeks where we just don't have anything on Mondays. Although, to be fair, it's like we had like a week or two there where we were off from One Piece anyways because of the boycott at the time. But we'll just have an empty spot during the week. Might do some other stuff during those days. Might just try to get to some other things in general. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, in fact, since I won't have to like put up anything, those would just be good days for just general recording. I might be able to record more on those days because I won't have to worry about getting anything up. And maybe there will be even something specific coming on Monday the 23rd, or Monday the 3rd of January. Not 23rd, the 3rd of January. Simply because it's the day after my birthday. And I'm not really able to like do too much to plan for putting something up on my birthday. Though I might be able to. I don't know. We'll see if I put something up extra there. But yeah, on January 9th, the next episode comes out. Which means on the 10th, we'll be back. And there will be a new opening. And I'm excited for the new opening. It's sad to see this one go. Like many openings in this series, it's still going to hold a very special place in my heart. I still think it's one of the best openings of the series. But we need a new one. We really do. So it's definitely the right time. But yeah. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Tell me what you thought of these episodes of One Piece down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.